The Iran deal is defective at its core. If we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen. In just a short period of time, the world's leading state sponsor of terror will be on the cusp of acquiring the world's most dangerous weapons. Therefore, I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal. In a few moments, I will sign a presidential memorandum to begin reinstating U.S. nuclear sanctions on the Iranian regime. We will be instituting the highest level of economic sanction. Any nation that helps Iran in its quest for nuclear weapons could also be strongly sanctioned by the United States. America will not be held hostage to nuclear blackmail. We will not allow American cities to be threatened with destruction, and we will not allow a regime that chants death to America to gain access to the most deadly weapons on earth. Today's action sends a critical message.
During his speech, we were taking it down live off our satellite feed. Now I've punched it up on Fox News. Let's go ahead and roll him getting into what he plans to do, pulling out of the Iran deal.
That will only endanger the survival of the Iranian regime. In fact, the deal allowed Iran to continue enriching uranium and, over time, reach the brink of a nuclear breakout. The deal lifted crippling economic sanctions on Iran in exchange for very weak limits on the regime's nuclear activity and no limits at all on its other malign behavior, including its sinister activities in Syria, Yemen, and other places all around the world. In other words, at the point when the United States had maximum leverage, this disastrous deal gave this regime, and it's a regime of great terror, many billions of dollars, some of it in actual cash. A great embarrassment to me as a citizen and to all citizens of the United States. A constructive deal could easily have been struck at the time, but it wasn't. At the heart of the Iran deal was a giant fiction that a murderous regime desired only a peaceful nuclear energy program. Today, we have definitive proof that this Iranian promise was a lie. Last week, Israel published intelligence documents long concealed by Iran, conclusively showing the Iranian regime and its history of pursuing nuclear weapons. The fact is, this was a horrible one-sided deal that should have never, ever been made. It didn't bring calm, it didn't bring peace, and it never will. In the years since the deal was reached, Iran's military budget has grown by almost 40%, while its economy is doing very badly. After the sanctions were lifted, the dictatorship used its new funds to build nuclear-capable missiles, support terrorism, and cause havoc throughout the Middle East and beyond.
That is the big one. They are delivering long-range ICBMs.
The agreement was so poorly negotiated.
That's true.
That even if Iran fully complies, the regime can still be on the verge of a nuclear breakout in just a short period of time.
That's true. They've got all the components.
The deal's sunset provisions are totally unacceptable. If I allowed this deal to stand, there would soon be a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. Everyone would want their weapons ready by the time
That's
Iran
a good point, because Saudi Arabia wants nukes.
Making matters worse, the deal's inspection provisions lack adequate mechanisms to prevent, detect, and punish cheating, and don't even have the unqualified right to inspect many important locations, including military facilities. Not only does the deal fail to halt Iran's nuclear ambitions, but it also fails to address the regime's development of ballistic missiles that could deliver nuclear warheads. Finally, the deal does nothing to constrain Iran's destabilizing activities, including its support for terrorism. Since the agreement, Iran's bloody ambitions have grown only more brazen. In light of these glaring flaws, I announced last October that the Iran deal must either be renegotiated or terminated. 3 months later, on January 12th, I repeated these conditions. I made clear that if the deal could not be fixed, the United States would no longer be a party to the agreement. Over the past few months, we have engaged extensively with our allies and partners around the world, including France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. We have also consulted with our friends from across the Middle East. We are unified in our understanding of the threat and in our conviction that Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon. After these consultations, it is clear to me that we cannot prevent an Iranian nuclear bomb under the decaying and rotten structure of the current agreement. The Iran deal is defective at its core. If we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen. In just a short period of time, the world's leading state sponsor of terror will be on the cusp of acquiring the world's most dangerous weapons. Therefore, I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal. In a few moments, I will sign a presidential memorandum to begin reinstating U.S. nuclear sanctions on the Iranian regime. We will be instituting the highest level of economic sanction. Any nation that helps Iran in its quest for nuclear weapons could also be strongly sanctioned by the United States. America will not be held hostage to nuclear blackmail. We will not allow American cities to be threatened with destruction, and we will not allow a regime that chants death to America to gain access to the most deadly weapons on earth. Today's action sends a critical message. The United States no longer makes empty threats. When I make promises, I keep them. In fact, at this very moment, Secretary Pompeo is on his way to North Korea in preparation for my upcoming meeting with Kim Jong-un. Plans are being made, relationships are building. Hopefully a deal will happen, and with the help of China, South Korea, and Japan, a future of great prosperity and security can be achieved for everyone. As we exit the Iran deal, we will be working with our allies to find a real, comprehensive, and lasting solution to the Iranian nuclear threat. This will include efforts to eliminate the threat of Iran's ballistic missile program, to stop its terrorist activities worldwide, and to block its menacing activity across the Middle East. In the meantime, powerful sanctions will go into full effect. If the regime continues its nuclear aspirations, it will have bigger problems than it has ever had before.
All right, let's stop right there.
Finally,
we're going to come back with the final summation of the president's speech that we're in near time live, but we're going to break here. We started it out live, but we are now obviously re-airing what he's already said. But this was pretty predictable, but let's talk about what's accurate and what he said and what isn't accurate. Because from my perspective, we'll talk about that too on the other side. Stay with us, Infowars.com.
Austin, Texas, it's David Knight.
Welcome on this Thursday, May the 3rd, 2018. We're going to be talking to Lionel in the last half hour of the program. Before we get to that, we're going to have a lot of legal questions. I imagine Lionel is going to have something interesting to say about what Giuliani said yesterday on the Sean Hannity show. He made some amazing statements. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to play what he had to say. We've also had some interesting statements made by Hillary Clinton about her walking back the fact that what caused her to lose the election now. This is, let's see, how many reasons did she lose the election? I've lost count. But now the latest excuse was that she outed herself as a capitalist in the Iowa caucus. Well, we're going to talk about how I believe that Hillary Clinton, surprise, surprise, I think she really is a capitalist. And I'm going to tell you why Hillary Clinton really is a capitalist. But she also told us that the Democrat Party is socialist. She's right about that as well. But that's really not what they were angry about. And we're also going to take a look at some updates in North Korea. Looks like they're going to release 3 prisoners. I'm going to tell you who those 3 prisoners are, why they were in prison. You know, we just had a guy last summer that they eventually released him. He went there for tourism. He tried to take a propaganda poster for a souvenir. Didn't get out with it, and they basically killed him. He died shortly after he got back because of the harsh treatment. Everybody says that the prison camps in North Korea are like Nazi concentration camps in World War II. Incredibly harsh treatment. And I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler update. These 3 people who went there, who in one way or the other have Korean connections. They're American citizens, but they're Korean background and became American citizens. They went there to try to help. They went there to try to help them grow food. They went there to try to help in orphanages. One of them is a Christian who was trying to help in an orphanage and so forth. You can't help these people. It's kind of like trying to go to Islamic countries and trying to help the jihadis there, or just any Islamic country. You can't take the Red Cross there. You got to change it at least to the Red Crescent before you'll be allowed to help people, because their real issue is they don't want to help people. They want to control people. And so we have an update as well on the Alfie tyranny in the UK. You had a lot of people comment on Twitter about this, and they said, oh, I love the national health care system in the UK, and it's free, and we don't have to pay for anything. I said, you don't understand what it costs you. First of all, if you think it's free, you don't have any idea what the dollar costs are. You just don't see it there. I was lectured once by a city council meeting that I went to. There was a city council woman in Raleigh, and she had just gotten back from Russia. This was before the fall of the Soviet Union, and she was so excited. I mean, it's where she needed to be. She needed to stay there, quite frankly. She was so excited. She said, we need a public transportation in Raleigh. Yeah, in Raleigh, like they've got in Moscow, where you can go anywhere in the city for just a nickel. And I said, you have no idea what the true cost of that transportation system is. But what it truly costs you is your liberty. And what we're talking about, and I mentioned it yesterday, I said it's not just a problem in the UK. It's a problem with government control of health care. And because when you give the government control of health care, to the degree that they have control, they always use it to take away your choice, your liberty, your freedom, your dignity. It isn't even about the money. I'm so sick and tired of Republicans and Democrats who just look at things from a standpoint of dollars and cents. It makes no sense to turn over your freedom to the government. And when the government has more control, as it does in a single-payer system, the more the government is involved in health care, the less you have control of your life. It's going to be rationed one way or the other. It's going to be rationed with dollars and cents. It's going to be rationed with lines. The people who love the national health care system ought to take a look at the fact that they had a lot of people, they just got their data mixed up. People who were diagnosed with cancer, they sent them a clean bill of health, and they didn't get any treatment and so forth. That's your government at work. If you don't like it, you can't go anywhere else. You will not be allowed to leave, even if you have another government trying to help you get out. We've seen that multiple times. Welcome on this Thursday, May the 3rd, 2018. I'm David Knight. We're going to be talking about Hillary Clinton calling herself a capitalist, Michelle Obama calling herself the forever First Lady. President in waiting is really more like the title that she has. We're going to talk about what's going on in North Korea. an ongoing tyranny in the case of Alfie. Now they're coming after people who tried to help the parents have a choice. The Italian government said, we'll let them come here. We've got some treatment for them, or you can decide where and how you want palliative care. It isn't even whether or not it is effective. People who make that argument don't understand the point. The point is, it is not these lawyers and judges' decision, it's the parents' decision. And you lose that ability to make that parental decision when you lose the control as the government takes more and more control of healthcare. And it isn't simply a British problem. I think it's a bigger problem there. It's more systemic there because the government has more control. And if we go to a single payer system here in the United States, the government will have more say-so over what kind of treatment you can get, where you can get it, whether you can get it. I mean, we have those kinds of controls already here in the United States. We have parents who want to take their kids out of cancer treatment, for example, or medically kidnapped. If they want to try an alternative treatment somewhere, they don't have the freedom to do that in many cases. We've seen medical kidnapping cases in Harvard. The case of Justina Pelletier, I think is the way you pronounce her last name, and Marty Gottesfeld, who is been in jail without bail, awaiting trial for over 2 years, a political prisoner. Why? Because he criticized a very powerful hospital, Boston's Children's Hospital, affiliated with Harvard University. You don't criticize them. You don't expose anything. And you don't get a trial. They just put you in jail like they did the Bundys because you criticize some very powerful people. If you want to take your kids somewhere you can get where you can get medical marijuana treatment because they've got brain seizures that are uncontrollable with any other type of medication, CPS will come in and take your kid away. So we have those types of problems here. As the government intrudes itself further and further into our life, it isn't about whether or not the health care is free. It's whether or not you are free to make your own decisions. Health care will be rationed one way or the other. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about censorship issues. We're going to talk about what Rudy Giuliani said yesterday in terms of payments to Stormy Daniel. And this is, everybody is talking about what does this mean? So we're going to play the clips from Rudy Giuliani and talk about what that means. I think one of the most promising things to come out is President Trump tweeting yesterday that the system was rigged. He is tired of waiting for the Justice Department and the FBI to turn over files and information about what was going on with Hillary Clinton and others, files that have been subpoenaed but have been stonewalled. And so he said, you know what, I might just declassify this stuff myself. And he should. He declassified the House Intelligence Committee and their report, and he didn't have anything redacted, and we could see that there was absolutely no reason for that report to be classified as top secret, except to protect these people. And that is what we have throughout government, is rampant overclassification, not to protect national security, but to protect the job security of these bureaucrats and to keep them from going to jail or getting fired because they believe that they should be there permanently. But before we get into any of that, I think one of the key pieces of news that came out today was a new Project Veritas expose. We have a link to this up on Infowars.com. Project Veritas did a sting, this time on the New Jersey Teachers Union and on the president of the Teachers Union. And he brags and talks about how he covers up child abuse in the schools for the teachers. You know, he says things like, I'm here to defend the worst people. I need to know the truth so that I can bend the truth. See, this is what we're seeing from the FBI. We see this from the Department of Justice. And of course, we see it from teachers' unions. It's all about protecting their jobs forever. And the public be damned. Kids be damned. They don't care about your welfare. They're not there to protect you or look after you. I tell you, one of the things that got my wife out of being a teacher, she taught school. She had a master's degree in education. Both of us went through the government school system. As a teacher, she saw a child being severely psychologically and mentally abused by a teacher, telling him, stand in that trash can, you're nothing but a piece of trash. She reported it to the principal. Principal said, well, we've got tenure here. Teachers union won't allow us to do anything about that. We've got to get more than that. And we're building up a dossier on her and all this kind of stuff. And still doing that to that kid. And my wife said, I don't want to be a part of a system like this. It is systemic. This is not just an isolated school district. This is not just one president of a teachers union. This guy's got an advanced degree. I think he's PhD or something. Whatever. I mean, he is part of the system. Yeah, he's Dr. Perry. So anyway, we're going to let's play that clip. Let people hear it for themselves.
People, I got people who are on drugs, and she 5 times was fired, and I got her job back 5 times. But it's my job. It's almost like being the priest. It's my job to protect. Listen, if you hit the kid, you hit the kid. It is what it is. He needs to not tell a soul about this. Nobody. If nobody brings it up from school, I don't say boo. Okay?
So after a certain point, the cameras are erased.
Exactly. That's why I would never want to bring it up. The longer we wait, the longer there's no.
Oh, that
now,
makes
if you
sense.
go to the Hamilton Board of Education and report this, they're gonna call the police and they're gonna call parents and all that. We don't do that. We don't do that here. I'm here to defend even the worst people. But I don't want them coming here with a bunch of lies. I need to know the truth so that we can bend the truth.
Education is a hot topic. There are teacher strikes across the country right now, and Education Secretary Betsy DeVos is challenging the status quo on school choice. Her appointment and her policies have become a lightning rod. The issue at hand is the teachers' unions claim their primary interest is our children. But based upon our past investigations, we had our doubts. And this time, we've raised the stakes. In this series, we'll take on the biggest teachers' union in the country and their leadership. We know AFT President Randi Weingarten is watching us. She actually tried in the courts to stop one of the videos we will be releasing next week. Last month, Project Veritas undercover journalist blanketed the state of New Jersey, visiting dozens of teachers' union offices. We wondered how union leaders would react to claims that teachers were physically and verbally abusing students. What you're about to see is a man who is a union president with a PhD, a leader, not working for the children like the sign above his head says, but working to do what he calls bend the truth and hide a potential crime.
All right, that was Project Veritas. Again, another great job of exposing this, and this is not just limited to New Jersey. He said there's going to be a series of these. The first one that dropped was one particular school district and one particular individual, but there's going to be a series of these. But let me tell you something. This is not limited to one state. This is a systemic problem, and it is across this country. Why? Because they have the ability to